what type of lifestyle do you want? Because you're in Lake Tahoe right now, right? Like it's cool to hear. I like asking people this because people are like, I want to be a billionaire. Some people want to
Mhm.
are like, I want to just live, be able to travel and go wherever I want, like Michelle and Paul, if you know them, they're an Astro. What's your goals? What do you want? What lifestyle do you want?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to me, it's one of those things that I've talked about this before with people, and it's I want to build my lifestyle and business nearly at the same time, but essentially my lifestyle around my business. Hence why I'm here in Lake Tahoe is because why not? Like, would being in an office would things be a little easier? Could I have a team on the ground? Yes, absolutely. But could I be here? No. So you kind of have your choices. You kind of have the things that you want to do. There's challenges with the way that I'm doing it now. However, those are challenges that I'm willing to take on to be able to be in places like this, right? My lifestyle that I see, I frankly I'm not a big like I want a private jet, even though I've heard Pace talk about it and the tax benefits and all that, and I'm like maybe I do want a private jet, right? So,
Right.
but on a baseline, for me, it's definitely wealth, right? Complete wealth, time, freedom. Like I want to have, I don't know if I can say fu money. I'll keep it PG here, but at the same time, I want to be that guy that like you're shopping and you wouldn't really think, oh, that guy has a lot of money because I want to
Right.
spend it on travel and experiences. I want to be in the same place where people are. I just want to be able to fly into a helicopter there. If that makes
I
sense.
love it.
So that's the type of style that I want, and I'm again trying. I'm building it now, one step at a time, one brick at a time, and part of it's just dude being in places like this. I love seeing new places. I love seeing travel. Traveling to new areas, getting to know the country, and just dude, being able to do a podcast outside. I work out
Yeah.
here a lot, and I was like, what better place to talk to Jonah than I don't know. Oh, other side. You guys see the lake. It's
Yeah, no,
literally
we
right there.
see it.
It's
It's
crazy.
beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I hate focusing on me and taking it away from your background of Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe is one of my favorite places in the world. I grew up going to Lake Tahoe. So it's an amazing place. If you guys haven't been, it's awesome. So yeah, man, like how talk real quick about this is like I'm curious if you get this because I get this sometimes when I'm traveling. Although you're doing a little bit of a different traveling because you're living there for a couple months and
Hmm.
working every single day, right? Like one thing that I got, like I remember like this was a challenge of mine, like just on this past vacation I just took to Turks and Caicos. It was like a 1 week thing with my family where like I was like, I'm gonna disconnect. I'm barely gonna work at all. And it like I actually get guilt. I was like, I should be working. I should be doing things, right? And it's completely really hard to let go. Do you ever feel that? I don't know, in Lake Tahoe or just whenever you're traveling and stuff like that?
1,000%. It is like one of the new things that I'm trying to overcome now by having a team, being a leader. It's I may know that someone's work, especially because we're all in different time zones, right? So I have somebody in Florida. You know, homeboy is like working at 5 a.m. my time, but it's 8 a.m. his time. Right? But even that gets to me a little bit. Those things like that, definitely, I feel the guilt. But what I work with my team is we're still kind of working through the details on whether this is the best or not. But we focus more on KPIs, right? I don't say come in at this hour and leave at this hour, and that's your shift. We just do it KPI based. Make sure that the KPI should actually keep you there for a decent amount of time. But if you really put your head down, turn your phone off, throw it on the other side of the room, and just get here and do your calls, do your things, you could
Right.
finish halfway through the day. And then I tell my whole team, if you want to go to the beach after that, you hit your numbers, you crush your numbers, dude, go. So I try to kind of have that same culture. Like if I'm going to go away for a day, they can't do as long as the work gets done. Because anytime that I go away, because I'm here, right? It's work is a lot, or the work gets done in the week. But I can't say that I haven't gone snowboarding on a Wednesday when the team is working. But they know that very well because I said, hey guys, I got all the things that I need to do that I would have done on Wednesday done on Tuesday. I pushed this call off on Thursday. I'm still very like attached to Slack. Like the one
Right.
thing that I never miss if I Slack notifications is my team. What's up, right? Like I'm there for them at any point. But that's kind of how I work through it. I say if I get my work done and I can go do something, you guys have the same expectation for you. I can't expect people to do things that I'm not willing to do. but also set an example of, if you're going to do that, get your work done.
Right. I like that. That's a good one, right? Like it's definitely, I definitely like that idea. I should probably do that. I have time requirements, but I should stop doing the time requirements and just be like, it's KPI based. Like you should just be hitting your calls and then you can take off if you actually hit your calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. I might implement that. Cause yeah, I give my
Start with
guys
like
a
a
lot
week,
of,
because it's tough. It'll go back and forth too, right? Because like now you're kind of have time of like, okay, I'm gonna, I'll see sometimes they'll go out and do something in the morning, and then they start later in the afternoon and they don't hit their KPIs. So I always say start in the morning, even if it's KPI based. What I might change or do better is, hey, your start time, you have a start time, you just don't have a finish time. So kind of maybe like a hybrid.
I like that. Yeah, like with my team, the main thing that I really want them to have is always just start in the morning, 9:30, or I'm sorry, 9, we meet and do like a mindset thing. Like that's the only thing that's definite. And then I do like 9 to 5, right? And I'm like, and then I just talk to them about like, especially my commission based ones. It's like, look, this is what you got to do if you want to actually make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what's going to happen. This is what needs to change. This is what has to happen. And so, yeah, I think it's a lot of that. So what is like, let's go into, you join Subto, you're there with Pace Morby. What are some of the other ups and downs that you've gone through? I know you said shiny object syndrome. You mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned this on the podcast or before the podcast, but you mentioned how like you're like only single family right now. Can you talk about that a little bit, about like why you chose that and what you're focusing on and why you're focusing on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for me, it's having to be my own boss and keep myself on track, because I know I'll catch shiny object. I see new things, dude. I want it. I see this, I want it, and that's been kind of my biggest struggle. And so, what did I do? I said, dude, single family residential only, no apartments, no condos, no nothing, no multifamily, nothing outside of that. Strategies: cash, Subto, seller finance, hybrid. No novations, no Morby methods. Just keeping it simple. We're about to move into novations. However, just making the focus that small, and then, widen it once you master that centerpiece. Otherwise, you're going to know a little bit about everything. I'd rather know a lot about one thing. And so that's why I chose just single family and nothing else. Now, if an opportunity of a lifetime came about in a multifamily, I would figure out a way to take it, but it would have to be like very solid. Even, my Airbnbs, we have a handful of Airbnbs that I started that in the summer. Now my girlfriend manages that completely. Who, not how. I don't touch it at all, because right after that I started building the team that I currently have. So I said, babe, I got to be focused. I got to do this one thing and this one thing only. And funny enough, that whole very clear focus, very much going one direction, came about. I had a little vacation with some of my friends. I love them to death, but some of my friends from before I started real estate, with a different mindset, with different goals. And so kind of hanging out with people who aren't not in real estate kind of reminded me of, dang, like I kind of upgraded to real estate to go above and beyond what I used to
Mm-hmm.
be. But I had realized, this is right before I started the team, that I had gone a little bit complacent, actually a lot of it complacent. And so that was my spark to, dude, I'm going to start a team. I'm going to do it. I don't care. There's no other way. I'm not doing the solo thing. I'm going all the way. And so that was actually last year. And you can ask Marlon Johnson. He's like, dude, I've never seen you so crystal clear focused. Something just snapped that I was like, dude, I saw the old me. Don't want to be like that. What am I doing? I used to kind of think about it this way. I used to be like, the best is not the right word that I'm looking for, but kind of like at the top of like my friends and mindset of how I think about things. And then I came into this group of like-minded individuals, and I ended up becoming somebody average within that group. Why would I want to be somebody average? Let me be up here with all the people that are performing like high level performance. So it's just yourself, like Alejandro, a lot of these people that we know in the community and stuff too that are killing it. I'm like, how do I get to being like them? So that's my pathway. That's where I'm working to. And that's why I just said, dude, clear focus and just one single thing. Sorry, that was a little bit more than the question you asked me, but
No, that was
it had
good.
a
I
had a
loved
little
it.
bit more.
No, I loved it. I want to talk a little bit about, we had the shiny object syndrome, but you were also mentioning about, well, let's finish the shiny object syndrome first. So what like so how would you recommend, because this is like an interesting thing for me right now. I like these things because I just ask advice from my friends about shit I'm dealing with, right? Um, what do you do when opportunities come by that aren't your main focus? Like my main focus right now is wholesaling. I like it a lot, right?
Mhm.
But I do every once in a while do more creative financing stuff, like where it's like I got a Subto, I got one rental, I got like a wrap. They sometimes take away my focus, which is really annoying. Do you just always hire a manager? Like, how do you deal with that?
Who know how, right? If I find something that's not my forte, even land. Like I know enough about land to be dangerous, is what I say, but I don't even touch it anymore. We are essentially putting those off to somebody who does land, even if it's a good opportunity, and then let's just JV on it. Because the time that I'm going to spend on something that is not my focus, that I have to actually, spend more time getting into that thing, might actually take away other revenue, other opportunities that I could have done in that time. I love the saying, how to go. You can't, you're stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. And
Right.
so I kind of sometimes feel that way about some of those things. If I don't know how to deal with it, I'll just bring it to somebody and say, hey, here's an opportunity. How can we work on it together? So on and so forth. So not necessarily hiring a manager, but rather finding the who to that how, and just kind of backing out and say, hey, let me just, you know, let's JV on it. And that's it. I haven't actually ran into a massive opportunity that I'm like, let me just go back all in
Right.
into this other opportunity yet. And I think that's because I've been so focused on one thing, and
No,
I
I
plan to
love
keep it
it.
that way.
I love it. And then the other part of what you were mentioning beforehand is, how do you deal with your old friends and that lower mindset? Because I know exactly what you're talking about. I have my friends, I love them, but they still love doing drinking. Some of them still do drugs. And I'm like, I don't really like, I drink, but I don't like it that much. I do it when it's a special occasion, then I like it. But
Hmm.
like, how do you reel that back in? Because you have like, they've been your friends for a really long time. They still are really good friends. You still love them, all of that stuff. How do you balance that, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And a lot of the friends from back then, the ones that I still talk to, we share core values. So that's something that I can still relate to them. It may not be real estate, may not be entrepreneurship, but a lot of times is, life enjoyment, whatever it may be. There's core values that we still share that we can still connect on. And, I still love them to death. So that's, I think, a big tie, because it's not always all about, real estate and stuff and the mindset that goes into entrepreneurship. And what I love about them is they actually kind of have coined me as like, oh yeah, Luciano's the real estate guy. He's the entrepreneur in the group, and they respect it and they like it. Funny enough, though, at one point, one of my really good friends, he's like, oh man, what are you doing in this MLM stuff? That's what he thought I was doing. And then I showed up one day to work and I was like, hey bro, like check out this wire. I had like my bank account pulled up with like 10 grand in my first wholesale deal. And he's like, what? What? Wait, this is real? I was like, uh-huh. And so
I
that was
love
like the
that.
best feeling. But like, it's one of those things that like it's still not for them. They don't really care about it. A lot of them nurses are they're making money. But they respect it. They they're cool with it, and we just share a lot of core values. Then a lot of the now let's talk about the big like I guess big group of friends. A lot of them I just don't talk to because we kind of outgrow each other just like you do as kids, but rather outgrow each other even as adults, just because we don't share those core values. But a lot of the friends that I do have that are not in real estate, I think again core values are one of the things that keeps us together.
I love it. I love it so much. That's a really good answer, in the sense of like you're thinking about the core values that keep you together. Is a smart way of still keeping up with old friends, but then also going through it. Like my best friends now are like trying to get into real estate investing with me. They're becoming my private money lenders, or they're like trying to own multifamily with me and all of that type of stuff, right? Which is eventual thing. Like I agree 100%, guys. Focus on one thing, wholesaling, whatever it might be, until you can literally hire a COO or someone to manage that entire business for you. And then once you've hit that point, then move on to the next thing. Then move on to flipping or multifamily or whatever. Like my goal basically is, this year I'm praying I get someone who's like COO esque, who can run the wholesaling operation. I I need to hit 100K in revenue a month for me to feel comfortable hiring a COO type of person. And I'm like up almost halfway to that every month, which is annoying the fuck out of me. I'm like, God damn it. This is like, I want to be able to get into 100K. And there's like a bunch of different reasons. It's just like, took myself out. I'm like, I'm the sales coach. So like, that's good and bad, right? Because you can really be having like you are obviously the best salesperson, but then also you need to like get out of it and let your salespeople run things and do things, right? Do you have any problems with that yourself, with like delegation or anything like that? Was that ever a problem for you?
I feel that sometimes that I itch to get on the phone. Like I want to snipe leads out of my closer and be like, dude, let me take that one. But I don't, because what's that going to do for me? It's just going to kind of pull me back in. It's just going to give them an opportunity to have that cushion of, oh yeah, he can take care of that. Right. But I like pitching creative. I like being on the phone, and it's just one of those things that I'm detaching from. But I'm in the same boat, right? I'm kind of more the sales coach. I listen to the calls. I was actually just listening to calls before this podcast, trying to calibrate some things, trying to, even the little things. Because sometimes you'll do a little tweak on a call and things will change a lot. And yeah, delegation, man, that's an art. It's a lot tougher. Hey, Marcus Money Jams, what's up, brother?
Marcus, our guy.
Yeah, Marcus is awesome, man. Yeah, it's awesome view. But yeah, so that's one of the things. It's delegating. I think you just need to have clarity on what you're looking to delegate. We did this at the mastermind. We had a delegation part, and like it made me realize, like, oh my God, I'm missing so many components. And even now, I still have to remember, when I want to delegate something, I have to have those things in place, have the systems in place. It's a lot easier to delegate when you actually have a system for them to run off of than to say, hey, go do this thing. I think go do this thing is appropriate at a different level. But if you're trying to run a business has certain very specific parts, you should have a system. Now, if you have somebody who you're delegating leadership, or you're delegating a whole branch like a partner, then I think that's a good recipe to say, hey, I need this to look like this. Go make it happen, right? But to the team, to the lead managers, to the acquisition, having a pipeline, having a process, having where to put the task and the follow-up to them is important, because then they don't really have to worry about thinking about those things as much. They just worry about being on the phone and closing the deals and moving the pipeline forward. The delegation is quite an art. Yeah.
100%, man. It's like, that's the challenge, right? I heard Pace talk about it. He's like, getting a deal was not the hardest part about real estate. Getting himself out of the business and like just owning the business was the hardest part. So we're in the hardest part right now. So that makes me happy that we're like almost there, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
totally.
My guy, I on this one have like a pretty hard stop at 1. So I want to make sure I get in like the questions that I always ask people. So if you, Luciano, could go back to 2018 to yourself, knowing everything you know now, what would you ask yourself? I'm sorry, what would you tell yourself knowing everything that you know now? You have a time machine.
It's so funny that I just asked my team something very similar today in our huddle. But to answer your question, man, I would literally just grab myself in the shoulders and be like, don't shake myself, right? Be like, don't think too much about this. Just follow the recipe. Just trust the process. Do the thing, do the work. The things will fall into place, rather than going back and just trying to get to that top of the ladder, going into the, you should have the trophy in mind. You should have the end goal in mind, but you don't necessarily need to have step 9 figured out on how to get to 10. You got to figure out step 2, 3, 4, 5 if you're in step 1. So I would tell myself, do the work, don't overthink, don't try to automate everything, and just taking one step at a time. It will work itself out. And and also I would tell myself, relate to everything else you've done in life, right? You've worked hard for this, the result came out. When I was a brand new nurse, or when I was just starting the program, or when I used to be in martial arts, when I was just, a white belt, I knew that I had to do this kick, this punch to get to the next belt. And then I had to do this to get to the next belt. I was never really thinking about the black belt. I was thinking about the next belt. So going back and be like, go to that kid again and say, get through this belt, you'll get to that one. I promise. Now get to that one. And so that's what I would tell myself.
I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, like it's so good to remember that, like, because we get so caught up, right? We see like Pace and Jamil, and then even people above them like Grant Cardone or like Robert Kiyosaki, and we see this huge mountain, and we're like, how are we going to get all the way up there? When really it's just like you got to be just taking one step at a time. You're in chapter where you and me are probably in chapter 5, they're in chapter 24, right?
Hmm.
Like we got to stay in the chapter we're at. Don't compare yourself to other people. I don't care how much longer you've been doing it than other people. A, doesn't matter. B, they might be lying. There's a good chance they're lying and not making quite as much money as they say they are. And C, like, who cares? Are you working and getting better every single day? That's literally all that matters. And you don't fail unless you quit, right? So I just wanted to
Facts.
say that as well. What are some book recommendations for the crowd that we can give?
Man, my favorite book, actually, Alejandro Alvarez, I got to give him a shout out. He recommended this book to me. It's called The 5 a.m. Club. I love that one. It doesn't necessarily talk about it's not just a morning book, oh, this is your 5 a.m. routine. It does have that, spoiler alert, but it has a lot more to it, a lot more principles and things about life that I really, 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 really enjoyed. If you're just getting started, more on the real estate side, Rich Dad Poor Dad. To me, that's not so much a strategy book. It's more of a general real estate book. Funny
Right.
enough, he actually talks about wholesale in there, and I didn't even know until like I reread it the
Does
second
he?
time. He does, dude. There's one part
No way. He talks about wholesaling in there?
he mentions wholesale. Yeah, he doesn't actually call it
Wow.
wholesale, but a sign in the contract. Yeah, there's one part he
Wow,
does.
that's
I was like,
crazy.
what? And then one that I'll give one more here. It's technically three. It's the Go Giver series. So I've read the Go Giver, the Go Giver Leadership, and the Go Giver Influence. But my favorite, it's Go Giver Leadership, because that has been so relatable to me in the journey of building a team. There's 5 concepts that it has in there, and that the one that I always remember is, your biggest job as a leader is to hold the vision, right? When
Mhm.
nobody else can see it, you have to be able to see it, or else, you're not going to get to that place, to that spot that you want to be. So I think the Go Giver series is amazing, and I just really like the way they write the books too. It's like a story. 5 a.m. Club is the same way. It's a story, so it's very engaging. I can follow it. I don't get bored, and it's one of those books that I can actually see it when I'm reading it. Like I can see the guys, the people meeting at the coffee shop and stuff like that. So I think that series is amazing.
I love it. I didn't know there were more than one. I only read the Go
Mm-hmm.
Giver. I'm going to look up Go Giver Leadership and Go Giver Influence and immediately
They're
try to
quick
find
too.
those. Yeah, I'm going to try to find those. My man, you are amazing. What can people find you at? What do you want to promote? Like, what's your Instagram? This is the time to plug everything that you're doing right now.
Yeah. So my Instagram is my name, Luciano .svet, because my whole last name is way too complicated. So at Luciano.svet. Shoot me a DM. Shoot me two. If I don't get it, I need to.
What
That's
do they
one of the
want?
things.
What do you want them to send you, though?
Send me the word Skorch on the first thing, so when I see the preview, I know it's from here,
Okay.
and then I'll be like, okay, that came from the podcast. Like I'll see that and I'll get to it immediately. Send me the word Skorch, and then really anything. And if you have any questions, I typically will respond to you on an audio. So I hope you're into that kind of thing. One of my weaknesses, I don't like typing, so I audio a lot, which I actually think is great. And ask me anything. It can be books. It can be if you heard anything here that resonates with you, any part of my journey, anything that maybe you want to learn from me, I'm super happy to do so. And if you have a deal, if you want to JV on anything, single family,
Where?
let's do
Where?
it. Phoenix, Arizona Metro, or Phoenix Metro, I mean, in Arizona, San Antonio, Austin, and Houston, Texas, and Central Florida, and the Carolinas. Well, actually, not North Carolina yet. We should be there within the next month. But Columbia, South Carolina, we're there as well.
Absolutely love it, my man.
And I would
Is
love to
there
buy a house in Utah. So if anybody has a creative deal in Sandy or forget what the town's called right below it, I would buy it. I want a primary in Utah so bad.
I love it so much. So tell me, what else can we do for you? Is there anything else you want from my community that we can do to serve you?
No, dude, just having me here, it's something dude, like I told you, you're actually my first podcast, and even better, I gotta say it on the
I love
podcast,
it.
podcast number 69. Let's go. And
I
I
keep
just really
forgetting because you
enjoy
did put it.
I do look at your journey kind of even when we don't talk from afar and see the things that you do. I look at people like you, I look at people like Alejandro, I look at people like Marlon, Daryl, as mentors as well, even from afar, because I just see you, I frankly, you're ahead of me on this path and this journey. And when I see you, one thing that I always tell people, look for mentors too, that you're at our arm's reach. Hey, I can reach you, Jonah, but pace, I'm really stretching to try to actually reach that level. So last tip that I'll give, like find somebody who is not that much ahead of you. They don't have to be an expert in real estate, but they're in step 4, right? Like you said, chapter 5, they remember step 3, 2, and 1 a lot better than the guy who's in step 20. That guy's gonna be like, what did I do then? So
I
yeah.
100% agree with that. I love having a mentor like Pace, but you also need a mentor who's only like 1 step ahead of you or 2.
Mhm.
Having one that's 25 is great, but like, holy Jesus, the stuff he deals with is so much different than the stuff
Yeah.
we deal with. It's just such different problems. My man, I appreciate you. I'm going to end this. Next week, we got John Galan and Mahmoud together. They've both been on the podcast before, but they teamed up, and I want to see their progress since the last time I talked to them. They're freaking sick. I got to hard cut it right now. But guys, thank you so much. We will see y'all at the normal time next week, 5 p.m. PST. Let's freaking go.
Let's go. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody.